And we are back. Episode 157 of The Horror Guys.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Brian.
And it's Cartoon Week. Looney Tunes. Disney.
Wow.
Musicals. No?
None of
Not those
that.
kind of cartoons. Oh, the
Scary cartoons.
the sex and violence and scary cartoons.
It's
Yes.
Anime Week.
Well, this week we're going to watch 4 Japanese anime films.
We are.
And they're not strictly horror movies, but they got a lot of horror elements to them. Sex and violence and, definitely adult cartoons.
I would call them horror-ish.
Horror-
Horror adjacent.
Horror-ish, yes. Well, we'll take a stab at Ninja Scroll from 1993, and we lose ourselves in Perfect Blue, also from 1993.
It's not. It's from 1997.
Oh, misprint there. Okay.
Typo.
We'll join the Crazy Parade with 2006's Paprika, and end it all with Empire of the Corpses from 2015.
Yay.
And hint, we liked them all, mostly.
Mostly.
Yeah.
Some more than others.
One I wasn't really keen on, but
Okay.
we'll get to that.
All right. Well, let's start off. I like books.
You like books? I like books. I like books that you've written.
Check out horrorguys.com/books to check out all the Horror Guys guides. We got the Horror Guys Guide to the Silent Age of Horror. All those silent movies from the 20s and the 30s, and even before that, there's a couple that go back to the 1800s. It's very cool.
Movies have been around a while.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And talkies came later, and color came later, and 3D came later, and then HD came later, and
Here we are.
what's next?
Who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah. Holographic movies.
Now you're talking Paprika.
Holodeck.
Dreams.
Uh-huh.
All right. Well, anyway, let's start out. First one up. What first?
Ninja Scroll.
Okay.
1993.
I've seen this one. This is probably my third or maybe fourth time seeing this one.
And I was reading that this was way more popular in the U.S. than in Japan.
I think it was very typical of Japan movies, but it was the first one of its type to hit the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got nudity, and it's got gratuitous violence, and it's got a decent, fairly complicated storyline to it.
Yeah, I like that.
And I think a lot of people were expecting, Disney cartoon.
It's not.
This ain't that.
No. Well, why don't you rattle off the names? And I'll go with the spoiler-free judgment zone.
From 1993, Ninja Scroll, directed by Yoshiaki Kawajiri. Written by him also. Stars Koichi Yamadara, Emi Shinohara, and Takeshi Aono. Hour and 34 minutes. And this is available both as a dubbed-in English version, and also a subtitled Japanese version.
We did them all in subtitles. Yeah.
Did we this one?
Yeah, I believe so. Yep.
Did we this one?
Yeah.
I thought this one was English. Okay.
No. Well, it's an animated movie with great detail work, and they all have a lot of detail.
Yeah, they're all very
rich
heavily
animation.
animated.
Yeah. It's not a horror movie in the classic sense, but there are lots of demons and monsters to deal with.
That's really all that matters, isn't it?
Uh-huh, yeah. It's an epic battle of good versus evil, mixing martial arts and swordplay with magic and superpowers.
If I had to narrow it down to one genre, though, rather than horror, I would say it leans more into almost the superhero category.
Mm-hmm.
Those bad guys are about as super teamy as you're ever going to see in Marvel.
Yeah, supervillains versus... Well, and the good guys had some superpowers,
They
too.
did, yes.
So, yeah.
A man, Jubei, tries to cross a bridge, but is attacked by robbers. He was paid only 20 pieces of gold to retrieve a special sword given by the shogun. And the thief is saying, that wasn't enough. You should just keep the sword, because that's what I'd do. And he's like, no, because I am honest.
He is a man of honor.
And he throws his rice ball up in the air and cuts them all dead before the rice ball comes back down into his hand.
And then walks away munching on it. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
good. And cool.
Most of the townspeople from the Shimoda village are dead from the plague. An evil force has come. The government blockades the village to prevent the spread. No masks for these people. Just block them until they die. Hansa reports to the Chamberlain about seeing strangers in that village last night. He's ordered to investigate. Kagero, the Chamberlain's poison taster, wants to go along. The men talk about Kagero's destiny. Many of the men are killed by some kind of electricity-wielding demon, and also a man made of stone. The stone man then tears Hansa's arms off and drinks his blood. Mickey Mouse never did that.
Very violent.
The stone man takes Kagero prisoner. He then undresses and completely starts to rape her. Mickey Mouse never did that.
No.
Jubei is there and interrupts. Jubei puts the man's eye out, and he and Kagero escape. Lord Gemma orders the stone man and his partner not to pursue. Kagero reports to the Chamberlain about what happened. 20 men died. Meanwhile, the stone man finds and beats up Jubei. Jubei slashes the stone man with his sword, and he shatters.
Yeah, his stone coating starts to crumble away.
And at this point, Kevin said, what? He's stone. How does that happen?
Well, we find out in a bit.
We find out later. An old man explains that he was one of the 8 devils of Kimon, but Jubei didn't kill him alone. Yumimaro is the stone man's electrical partner, and he's one of those demons as well. He reports to Lord Gemma that the stone man was killed. Jubei runs into a tattooed woman. Her snake tattoos start to move, and the snakes spring out and attack him. She escapes, but the old man says he's helped Jubei again. The 8 devils are a ninja clan of the dark, and they want to overthrow the government. The old man wants to hire Jubei to fight them, but Jubei declines the offer. These guys in these ninja movies never want to do it at first.
No, that's part of the thing. You gotta be wooed.
The old man, Dakuen, points out that the snake woman poisoned Jubei, and he'll die by tomorrow without the antidote. Ooh, motivation.
And he's got the antidote.
The snake woman reports her failure to Yumimaro. Dakuen explains to Jubei that Lord Gemma, a known traitor, is now the head of Kimon clan. Shijima, a shadow demon, attacks Dakuen, but the old man escapes. Meanwhile, Jubei is attacked by the snake woman again, but Kagero intervenes. Turns out she's immune to poisons. That's why she's the poison taster.
And she's also poison herself.
Oh, yeah. Turns out, Kagero will poison any man she sleeps with. That's what actually killed the stone man earlier, not simply Jubei's sword. Yeah, he grabbed her and he raped her, and he kind of paid for that later.
He did.
Before the snake woman can be interrogated, she is electrocuted by Yumimaru's hidden wire. He's got these wires strung up all over the place, and he can talk through them like a telephone, electrocute people with them. Kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's a neat power.
They soon discover that there was no plague. The villagers were all either poisoned or executed. The demon master of bees attacks next with his swarms. This guy's like a little hunchback, and his big old fat, his backside has holes in it, and all these bees come out in a swarm. He's like a walking hive.
He's full of bees.
Kagero shoots poison rose petals at them, while Jubei goes after the bees master. I can't say I quite understood the rose petal thing. Where'd those come from? And why would the bees care? Oh, well.
Because they were poison and flying around. They were also small. There were so many and such a thick cloud of them that she was controlling. It was knocking the bees out of the air, literally.
All right. Jubei learns that Gemma has the secret of reincarnation. Any part of his body can regenerate. And he shows one of the underlings at some point. He pulls his shirt down. You see the scar across his neck where his head had been cut off at one point.
Didn't slow him down.
Didn't slow him down, no. The demon zombie master sends the animated corpse of Hansa against them, and he explodes, nearly killing Kagero and Jubei. And, I guess this zombie master isn't just making zombies, they're exploding corpse zombies.
What's worse than a zombie? An exploding zombie.
Something we'll see again later.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
The blind sword master demon fights Jubei one-on-one. Jubei and Kagero talk about getting romantic, but they can't because the touch of her skin is poisonous.
Also, he's honorable and doesn't want to take advantage of her.
The demon's plan seems to center on stealing some cargo from a ship that wrecked near the infected village a few days ago. Dakuen explains that the cargo is gold produced from the secret mine. The gold was headed to the Shogun of the Dark, and he needs it to topple the government and plunge the country into a civil war. The shadow demon attacks, turning into dozens of hologram versions of himself. Kagero sends a message to the Chamberlain about the gold shipments. Then she confronts Dakuen about the antidote to Jubei's poison. The shadow demon then kidnaps Kagero, and Jubei goes after her. Unfortunately, he's getting weaker from the poison and can't fight anymore. The old man says that if Jubei makes love to Kagero, that her poison will kill his poison, and that's the only cure for him. He declines the offer out of respect for her. She wants to have sex, doesn't she?
Yeah, she's willing and able.
And he knows that if he does it, he'll be cured, but yet
he's like, no, I am too honorable. I will not take advantage of you, my dear.
Playing hard to get here. It's just not a good idea. Jubei plans to sink the ship full of gold while Dakuan makes a distraction. Just then, the Chamberlain and his men arrive. Turns out the real Chamberlain has been dead for 2 days. This is Lord Gemma in disguise. He stabs Kagero in the back, and Jubei watches. Jubei makes a lot of their blood splatter everywhere. Yumimaru begs Gemma to be allowed to kill Jubei. He does nearly kill Jubei, but he's betrayed and killed by the zombie-controlling demon. She sends a little dead mouse to blow up at his feet.
Boom.
Kagero dies, but Jubei kisses her anyway. Well, that's what you call waiting beyond the last minute.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Jubei's angry, and he has an incentive to finally do something. He goes out to the ship and climbs aboard. Meanwhile, Gemma turns against the Shogun of the Dark.
Yeah, and saw that coming.
Yeah. He wants the gold for himself and also for the demons of Kimon, who are mostly pretty much all dead at this point.
Yeah, not many left.
Maybe he can resurrect them too. But he doesn't. Down in the cargo hold, Dakuan has to fight the demon zombie controller. She explodes dramatically and damages the ship in the process. As the ship burns and sinks, Jubei finally meets Gemma, and they do battle. Jubei was the one who decapitated the Gemma the first time, somewhere before the show. Jubei then cuts off Gemma's arm, but he just reattaches it. He's not just regenerating, he reconnects it.
So how are you going to kill him? And he really does a lot of damage to the guy, and he just takes it.
Yeah.
Until
Gemma, who can never die, turns out he gets encased in molten gold.
Because all the gold on the ship is melting in the fire. Very handy.
And he gets covered over in the molten gold, it cools, and he's basically a solid statue. Forever.
Sink into the bottom of the sea.
Even today, he's still
Until
there.
somebody finds him and melts him out.
Dakuan later explains that kissing Kagero cured Jubei of the poison, and he's free to go now. Jubei then walks off into the fog, waiting for a sequel. Which I don't know if they ever made one. They may have.
I don't think it ever came.
Well, there's lots of demons and monsters and epic ninja fighting. There's stuff about politics and gold mines and reincarnations and curses. There's a lot of backstory going on behind all the ninja fighting. The team of evil demons could match any superhero group with their distinct styles and powers, although they do die awfully easy. Yeah, maybe a big deal out of that blind ninja guy, and he just cut him in half, so that's all there is to that.
Yeah, that was a pretty easy kill.
Yeah, but we both liked it.
Yes, very much.
Okay. All right, well, what's up next?
Perfect Blue from 1997. And I'll let you say these directed by his names and so forth.
Directed by Satoshi Kon. Written by Sadayuki Murai, Yoshizaku Takeuchi, and Rika Takahashi. Stars Junko Iwao, Rika Matsumoto, and Shinpachi Tsuji.
Runtime is 1 hour and 21 minutes.
And all these have trailers as usual.
They all do, and trailers on YouTube. Yes.
So
this is Perfect Blue, the
Spoiler-free
Judgment Zone. It's an anime that's more of a psychological thriller this time around. As we follow Mima, we watch her struggle with what might be encroaching madness, or might be dark forces working against her. It's got murder and mayhem, and a gripping story that keeps pulling you along, eager to see how it ends.
We did Black Swan here at one point, didn't we?
Yes.
We considered that horror?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this one has stolen... Well, actually, this one came first. Black Swan stole a lot of the plot from this one. Mm-hmm. Very similar ideas. But this came first.
And this one, I don't know. I couldn't get into this one nearly as much.
What was it about this one that lost you?
A lot less action, less monsters, less demons. The ninja type stuff, the sword play, the monsters, the action, the blood.
Okay, it definitely does not have as much action. This is
more of a psychological thriller, slow burn kind of thing.
It's a stalker mystery, basically.
Yeah, more of a mystery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we see the filming of an episode of the Powertrons, a generic version of the Power Rangers. The fans talk about Mima and how this is supposed to be one of her final shows. She's a retiring pop singer, J-pop, and we also see a weird-looking guy with strange eyes attending her final show. Turns out that guy gets beat up by a fan at the show. Yeah, so she's like part of a musical trio. What were they called? Cham is the music group. And they're up there doing their dance, and we see basically it's a fight going on out in the audience. Well, after the final show, we see her buying groceries in the store like a normal person would. Her manager says she wants her to do more acting instead of all the singing, and she goes home and reads fan mail. One of them says he can see into her room. That's creepy.
Yeah, there is some creepy stalkerness going on.
She gets phone calls with deep breathing, and she gets a fax. Remember those? A fax.
How quaint.
Calling her a traitor. She's given up her music for acting. Mima goes to the shooting of her new acting job, and she only has 5 words. That's not a big job.
No.
But her manager wants him to write more lines for her, and she's super nervous, but before she can say her 5 words, someone shoots and injures her manager. No, it wasn't a shot. It was her fan mail exploded.
Dang.
Somebody sent her some kind of a letter bomb. Mima thinks it was lucky that she hadn't been reading her own fan mail. A friend shows Mima how to use a computer and the internet, which was a new thing at the time. This was 1997.
Yeah, well, then
The internet had been
the
around
fax
for a
machine was
couple
still
of
in
years,
use. And,
yeah.
Heavy use.
This is not historical. This is just old. She looks at a fan site devoted to her. Someone knows entirely too much about her personal details, even what kinds of groceries she buys. Someone is clearly stalking her. Before long, knowing that her every move is being watched, this starts to weigh on her. Yeah, everything you do, somebody knows.
Like that Sting song, Every Breath You Take.
Well, yeah, kinda. She sees a newspaper article about how one of the guys who disrupted her final concert had been killed in a hit and run. Actually, I don't think she even sees that. It's stuck on the wall behind her at one point.
Mm-hmm.
But we see it.
Yes.
She then notices that same weird-looking guy watching her from outside. The writer of the show she's on wants to write a rape scene for her character, and she knows she has to do it. It's good for her career. Rumi, her manager's assistant, takes it badly. She just sits there and watches her film the scene and cries through the whole thing. But Mima does a good job with the scene. She's very professional, and so are all the other actors. It goes as well as a rape scene could go in a movie, I suppose.
Until she gets home.
Yeah, then she goes home and has a breakdown. She shouldn't have done. She doesn't feel like she should have done it. She did a good job with it, and everybody liked it, but it's not the sort of thing she wanted to be doing. Then she talks to her alter ego in the mirror, who talks back. That's maybe a little sign of a break going on there.
Maybe.
She reads the blog that was supposedly written by her, but it's really somebody else pretending to be her, and her alter ego in the mirror says that the real Mima is writing that stuff. Is she really writing that stuff?
We don't know.
We don't know. The real Mima, who wants to go back to singing and not acting. And this is, you got the whole inner debate going on there. Should I be doing this or shouldn't I be doing this? This is wrong for me, or, it's a lot of money doing this. She then watches her alter ego fly out the window and down the street. Well, the writer for the crime show is murdered in his parking garage one night. Between that and the letter bomb, Mima thinks maybe somebody's after her, but her manager plays it all down, as her manager sits there with his arm in a sling and hands all damaged from the bomb.
Nothing to worry about. Perfectly normal.
Yeah. Mima does a sexy photo shoot next. The alter ego wants her to go back to singing, but the 2 friends from her former music group are doing very well without her, so she probably can't go back to that. Meanwhile, that crazy-looking guy continues to write his blog. He imagines Mima's alter ego is there with him as well. She divulges what she's been seeing to Rumi, but she doesn't know what's real and what's not anymore. The script of the show she is on starts getting suspiciously like the confusion that is in Mima's real life. And at a couple points we see them filming the show, and they talk about things that are happening in the movie we're watching, and it gets a little confusing there. Who's talking about what?
And, it'll be going along, and you think she's living her life, and then they do cut. That's a good scene. Yeah.
Yeah. So
wait a minute. That wasn't real?
The things
and she's confused, too. She stands there like,
she's very confused.
Wasn't that real? No, it wasn't.
Yeah, she's definitely not quite all there mentally at this point. She dreams that she murders the porn photographer, and the next morning she hears that the man really was murdered. She then finds a bloody shirt in her closet. Did she do that? The parallels in the TV show start getting really, really close to what's going on in Mima's mind. What is real? Well, she encounters that weird guy in the basement of the studio, and he pulls a knife on her and says he's protecting the real Mima. He says the real Mima emails him every day and says she is in the way. He ties her up and gets ready to rape her until she puts a hammer through his skull. Nope, that was all just a scene. Wasn't it?
Wasn't it?
She shows Rumi where it happened, but the body is gone. We see that her agent, who wanted her to get into more and more adult films, is also dead alongside the stalker. We didn't see that part, but he's dead too. We then see Rumi, dressed as Mima. Turns out, Rumi has been killing people. She thinks she's Mima. It was explained early on that she was an old pop star who gave up singing also, but her career didn't take off in the movies.
So Mima's not that crazy. Not as crazy as Rumi is.
No, Rumi is putting her all up to this. She was the one emailing the stalker and putting him up to various things. Rumi, who is also the alter ego, chases Mima across the rooftops. And we see Rumi, she's like this overweight girl in this tutu, I guess, running and chasing her across the roof. And we alternate between that and pictures of Mima, sort of like floating, dancing, fairy-like, I guess, across the...
I think that's how the real Mima is hallucinating her.
Yeah, we get alternating glimpses of reality and the hallucination.
Mm-hmm.
And then Rumi falls on broken glass, and then they both get hit by a truck. Okay. Mima then goes to see Rumi later on at the mental hospital, and Mima's a big star now, and she's feeling much better. The end.
Happy ending.
Okay, so it's a kind of a stalker with some mental break stuff going on there.
Uh-huh.
I like the line. I've heard a lot about the internet. It's getting really popular now.
Oh, it's just a fad. It'll fade out.
Could there anything be more 1997 than a line like that? Yeah, actually, she's got a Mac Performa box in her room. Wow. I had one of those in the 90s. Well, this was intended originally to be a live-action film, but ended up being an anime when the financiers backed out. The story is pretty deep for an anime, so the real writing shows through. Mima is clearly having some kind of schizophrenic break, but she sees it as a second version of herself. It gets kind of confusing in the middle, as it's hard to tell what's real and what's her mental hallucination, but by the end it actually does all make sense, which I found surprising. I definitely liked it.
And I was kind of meh.
Yeah, you glazed over through this one.
I did a bit, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your mileage may vary.
Mm-hmm. Yep, me.
Yeah. So, did we see a short film this week?
We did. We saw one called Close Your Eyes. Just came out this year.
And these are English names, so I'll let you read them.
And this is available on YouTube. It is directed by Andy Chen and written by Andy Chen. Stars Vinny Balbo, David Illy Bennett, and Madi Estrada. Runtime is just 3 hours. 3 minutes, 44 seconds.
And there's a link in the show notes to actually watch the thing.
Well, Martin seems to be sleepwalking. Vincent approaches him to help, but he's not as asleep as it seems. Listen, Marty says. You have to knock. Close your eyes. She'll tell you secrets. Well, finally, Vincent does hear the knock. Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's probably not good.
Yeah. It's a short one, but it looks really good, has good lighting and good pacing. It is very creepy. And it's amazing how suspenseful 3 minutes can be.
Yeah, it's not quite even 4 minutes, and it's good. There's a lot of waiting to see what happens. And, how much waiting can you do in 4 minutes? But it feels like more than that.
It was a really good one.
Well done, yes.
Yeah.
Which takes us to our next one. It's called Paprika from 2006.
This was my favorite of the bunch.
Okay. Directed by Satoshi Kon. Now, this is the same guy who made the Perfect Blue movie, but you like this one better.
I did.
Written by Yasutaka Tsutsui, Seishi Minataki. Well, you're losing me now.
Uh-huh.
Seishi Minakami and Satoshi Kon. Stars Megumi Hayashibara, Toru Furuya, and Koichi Yamadara. Hour and 30 minutes, trailer in the show notes. Definitely recommend you see the trailer on this one. It's something. Spoiler-free section. What happens?
What happens when your dreams can be shared with others? Dreams can be merged. Dreams cross over into the real world. It's a crazy trip of an entertaining movie. And this was originally planned to be live action, like that other one. But going animated allowed them to give us more imagery that would have been challenging and expensive to pull off. This would have been, maybe they could have, but yeah, animation probably was much easier. Some of the elements are nightmarish and horrifying, but it's more of a science fiction mystery thriller than actual horror.
Oh, I don't know. Some of those dream scenes
They're pretty horrific
could
and
see it be
nightmarish.
nightmarish. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember there are several scenes in this where the animation looks almost like rotoscoping. It looked much more realistic than just drawn stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if they filmed some of this and then converted it later.
That could be, yeah.
Yeah, don't know. All right, so we begin at a circus. A man talks into a microphone. He says he's looking for a known traitor. Suddenly, he finds himself in a cage in the center of the show. People run to grab him. They all look like he does. They're all identical people. But he sinks through the floor. Suddenly, he finds himself in a psychedelic series of images and situations that he doesn't understand. He then wakes up in bed, and next to him is the girl from his dream. All right, all that was a dream. She explains that they're both wearing a device called the DC Mini, which allows them to share dreams. She's recorded a video of his dreams on her computer, and she says that when the device is finished, you'll be able to enter your dreams from being wide awake. She also tells him that most dreams are somewhat movie-like. Detective Kanakawa says that he is working on a murder case, and he makes another appointment with Paprika, who is the dream therapist. Credits roll. All right, so we find out that early on that this thing is all about dreams. Well, the DC Mini was stolen, as well as certain scientific papers related to it. It must have been an inside job. The device's creator explains that he hadn't set up the security routines in the device yet, so anyone could just use it.
Oops.
Yeah, that's not good. The chairman of the company thinks the whole project is immoral. You could control people with the device, and now terrorists have stolen it. He suspects Paprika stole it. The chief scientist, Shima, suddenly starts talking in word salad mode, and I'm like, what is he talking about?
He just starts losing his mind.
And jumps out the window. That was sudden. They examine his weird dreams as he lay in the hospital. Chiba takes over the investigation. She explains that one of the chief's patient's dreams wound up in his subconscious. It's not a one-way connection.
That's not good.
They figured out that their assistant, Himuro, was the thief and go to his apartment. Chiba crosses over into a dream vision and follows Himuro through an amusement park and nearly jumps off the balcony of the high-rise in the real world. Illusions can be fatal. She thought she was jumping over a fence in the park, and it turned out it was the
balcony, way high up in the building. Yeah.
Chiba had been connected to the DC Mini, so now she's at risk too. Chief Shima wakes up in the hospital. The chairman wants to cancel the project, but he can't do it while the chief is in the hospital. The board requires all members to be present. And the chief, he's like this really old, sickly man on a wheelchair, and he's
the chairman.
The chairman, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And he seems to be very much against this project. You kind of wonder why he got greenlit in the first place.
Since he's in charge, yeah.
Detective Kanakawa gets on the computer and finds himself talking to Paprika in a dream restaurant. He doesn't like movies. It's almost a phobia for him. Chiba takes Tokita, the DC Mini's creator, to an actual real-world abandoned theme park. It's the one the dream version was based upon. They find Himuro's body. He had a DC Mini embedded in his head. The DC Mini may have been acting on its own, but there are 2 more of them floating around out there somewhere. Chiba doesn't believe Himuro would have done all this, and that he may have been a victim too. Yeah, they thought he was the villain, but maybe he's not. The chief then explains to Kanakawa that Chiba is Paprika, sort of. They're sort of dream world alter egos. Konakawa has a reoccurring dream where he ends up shooting someone who turns out to be himself. Takeda connects to Himuro in the dream world. He gets stuck in there too. Soon, Konakawa and Paprika find that all the dreams are starting to merge inside Konakawa's subconscious. Paprika/Chiba goes in after them to see the dream parade. She verifies that Himuro isn't there. He didn't start all this. She sees the chairman inside, and now she believes that he is behind all of this, and Osanai, his assistant, is involved as well. Paprika does battle with the dream monsters. Osanai brags that he can go into dreams at any time now. He's been causing all of this at the behest of the chairman. They believe they are protecting the sanctity of mankind's dreams. You think that was true, or they're just, tripping out on their power?
I think it was a power trip.
Konakawa remembers a movie he made when he was 17. He made it with a friend who got sick and died. He watches the goings-on with Paprika and Osanai on the movie screen, and Osanai splits open Paprika and peels her off of finding Chiba inside. The chairman intercedes and argues with Osanai, and Kanekawa tries to break through the movie screen. He and Osanai have to fight through all of Kanekawa's dreams. This time, he shoots Osanai in the back, and his movie ends. It all kinds of ties together with his dream from when he was 17.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, the chairman admits that he wants the use of Osanai's body. The two will merge at some point, and he'll be able to walk again.
The chairman was behind the whole thing.
That's what it was about. Mm-hmm. Since you can connect and switch dreams, he wants to put his mind into a healthy young body.
Yes, he does.
Kanekawa is stuck in everyone's dream.
And he wants to rule the world while he's at it, too, because everybody's dreams are going to start merging and crossing over into the real world, and he'll be in control of it all.
That could be a mess.
Yeah.
Well, it's starting to spread to other people now. Sorta, maybe. Or maybe it's just a dream. Dreams and reality are merging together. Chiba and Paprika, who are technically the same person, are now side by side working together somehow as the giant Himuro doll attacks. Paprika and the chairman have an epic apocalyptic fight.
The kaijus.
And then things start getting weird.
Start getting weird, yeah.
All right, the visuals here are, well, okay. Well, they're not going to be doing a live-action version of this one anytime soon. The Inception was inspired by this, so there's that.
And they did really do some crazy things in Inception that they were able to.
Yeah, but
and
I think Inception was a huge
things.
budget compared to this.
Mm-hmm. This would take a huge budget of live action with all this stuff that's in it.
Actually, the things like the parade... Mm-hmm. I don't see how that would even be doable in real life. It would just be too much going on. It would have to be some kind of crazy CGI, and it wouldn't look right.
I don't think it would, yeah.
Still, it's all very surreal and dreamlike. After a while, even the characters don't know what is and isn't real. It's definitely a cool movie with some outstanding visuals.
And again, my favorite of the four.
And we both have already downloaded the soundtrack for it.
Yeah, it's got an awesome soundtrack,
It's definitely got the best music of anything this week.
Yeah.
All right, and then the one I had never heard of before. This is a fairly new one called The Empire of Corpses from 2015.
This was also really good.
It was. It was maybe almost too good. They tried to do an awful lot with this
They
one.
cram a lot into this one.
Directed by Ryotaro Makihara, written by Project Ito, To Enjo, and Koji Yamamoto. And, these are the English dub stars, Clint Bickham, Anthony Bowling, and Duncan Brannon. We didn't watch that one, did we? Did we watch English, or was it?
We watched subtitled. Yeah. We saw the subtitled version.
Yeah, we did.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
In Japanese, yeah.
Don't know who the stars on that one were. Runtime, 2 hours even, and there's a clip on the show notes. I definitely recommend watching that one. Spoiler-free, what happens?
Well, this animated movie really crams a lot into the 2 hours. It's a steampunk alternate reality where Frankenstein's science was not only real, but comes into widespread use to animate the dead on a mass scale. And add to that, adventure, politics, lots of action. This movie is quite a ride.
Yeah. If I had one complaint about this one, is they tried to put too much in it. It should have been longer.
Well, they cram in real people and real events. Thomas Edison is mentioned in there, Captain Nemo and his sub. Lots of references to other things too that they
sort of a League of
of
Extraordinary Gentlemen kind of vibe here.
A little bit, yeah.
Well, heavy on the Frankenstein, though.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, we're in 1878 London, where John Watson, our narrator, says he needs more corpses. I noticed that Sherlock Holmes is mentioned in the credits. I didn't catch him in being as a character.
I didn't either.
You don't suppose he's the dead guy, do you? Friday?
Oh, maybe.
Maybe
he's supposed to be.
Maybe.
Okay. I didn't catch that
This
before.
is the thing. There's so much to this. It really almost requires a second viewing.
I wouldn't mind seeing this one again. Yeah.
Just to figure out what we missed.
Yeah.
Okay, so John Watson, Mr. Watson from Sherlock, has discovered the corpses weigh 21 grams less than they do while alive. Turns out this is the weight of the soul's essence. By injecting an artificial soul essence, he can resurrect the dead. The first time this was done was several years ago by Dr. Frankenstein. Frankenstein's monster had a soul and was unique, but the newer resurrected are only pale imitations of him with artificial souls.
Yeah, they can do it. They can bring people back, but nobody's mastered it like Frankenstein did, like the original Doctor.
Life is the easy part. Souls are more complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Frankenstein's monster is now called the One, but he's vanished long time ago. Our narrator wants to replace original souls into new bodies to really bring back the dead. Okay. His version of the undead are kind of mindless, but they are able to follow instructions, and that's about all. Turns out, corpse technologies are critical to everything now. It's become a mainstream technology. Animated corpses make perfect soldiers. If they die, no one really cares.
And it's tightly controlled, too. He's kind of doing illegal experiments on his own.
Yeah, it's all
trying
government
to improve
run.
stuff. Yeah, this isn't licensed.
Artificial souls can be created on punch cards called necroware. The undead make good servants, housekeepers, waitstaff, and lots of other things. They're kind of perfect servants. Undead workers are everywhere, and necroware engineers are continually making improvements every day. Credits roll. That was a lot of explanation pre-credits.
It was. Crammed a lot in there.
Well, the government tracks Watson down and makes him an offer he can't refuse. Come to work for the Queen. He and his personal zombie, Friday, go to Bombay. The former President U.S. Grant is there, showing off Civil War technologies. But suddenly there's an attack. There are Russian-controlled exploding corpses going off everywhere. Watson and Burnaby eventually evade the attackers. So these are zombies with bombs sewed into them.
Yeah.
Go walk down there and explode.
Uh-huh.
And they do.
Yeah, that's quite a terrorist tactic.
Karamazov has taken his undead and captured Afghanistan. M, which I assume is the character from James Bond.
I think so, yes.
He's also the main guy in the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I don't know if M came from somewhere else. Way back in the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, the main villain of that was M.
Uh-huh.
Was he the same guy? He's not the same guy as in James Bond, but is it the same office, I assume?
I think it's the same office, yes. Uh-huh.
Well, he instructs Watson to go to Afghanistan and stop Karamazov and retrieve Dr. Frankenstein's hidden notes. Nikolai will be accompanying them, and his job is to bring back Karamazov, but he says he doesn't really care about the Frankenstein memorandum. They watch a battle between undead armies. It's really just a numbers game. Undead versus undead, they're all kind of the same. But Karamazov's zombies are smarter and better with murderous intent than those of the British that are just dumb zombies. Suddenly, a woman with a flamethrower cannon wipes out most of the enemy army. That night, they reanimate one of the captured enemies, and the girl Hadalay introduces herself. She's President Grant's secretary. Eventually, they arrive in Afghanistan. They all expect that with Karamazov's new kind of souls, that the reappearance of the One can't be too far off. I guess he kind of protects the secrets or something.
Yeah, he's out there working on his own.
They meet Karamazov, who uses the new corpse technology on Nikolai, and Watson is tied up and has to watch. Karamazov has installed an artificial soul into a living being, which is not allowed. When Nikolai kills Karamazov, he tells Watson where to find the memorandum and has him swear to destroy it. In Japan, they learn about the Osata Chemical Company, which is also developing new corpse types. The group knowingly see, all the technology is dead-related, because dead people are everywhere. It's easy to deal with. The group then knowingly walks into a trap. They aren't the only ones after the Frankenstein memorandum, which is protected by giant reanimated samurai soldiers. Friday downloads the text of the memorandum as the others battle corpses. Friday goes into convulsions, but Burnaby insists on destroying the book. Before anybody can do anything, the room explodes. Boom. The One, Frankenstein's monster, arrives and talks to Watson. He's 100 years old now. He takes the memorandum and leaves. He wakes up aboard the USS Richmond, heading for the United States. Hadley is caring for him since he's got cholera now. Friday is still with him, but he's not the same.
He got an upgrade.
So they got zombies, they got corpses, they got flying ships, and they still got cholera. Oops. Well, President Grant wants Burnaby and Watson to stop the One, who is disrupting the dead all over the world. Meanwhile, the One uses the Paul Bunyan, a giant analytical engine, to hack the necroware and transmit to all the world's dead. He is also searching for something. All the undead, including Friday, turn on the living. Hadley can control them somewhat, and she helps them to escape, but it's revealed that, she's a robot. In the middle of all this, Friday signals that he's at least somewhat conscious now. And that was really kind of the whole point, the whole motivation for Watson was to wake up his friend Friday, who is just a dead, dumb zombie.
But he's starting to come back.
He is starting to remember. M finally tracks down the One, and they talk. M wants to use the memorandum to create a new world, and they take the One into custody in the Tower of London, where the Charles Babbage analytical engine is housed, the largest supercomputer in the world.
Exactly where the One wanted to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Arrest me. Okay. Suckers.
Hadley shows Watson to the Nautilus, a giant submarine controlled by her father, Thomas Edison. And we get like a 10-second shot of Thomas Edison saying something kind of irrelevant, and then never go back to him at all.
Or the Nautilus, really. Not too much.
They introduced the Nautilus, one of the coolest machines ever, and all they do is use it to drive through a wall. It's a little rushed.
A little bit.
M takes the One to the tower and the huge supercomputer, which is all connected to Victor Frankenstein's living brain. The Charles Babbage engine comes to life and beams out a signal to all the undead everywhere. Once all the humans are undead, there will be no more unhappiness or suffering ever, because everybody will be dead. The good guys hook Friday into the computer, and someone shoots M. The One breaks loose and kills M for good. He takes Friday and Hadley and puts them in his machines. He sucks all the artificial souls out of all the undead.
And then he's supercharged.
He rebuilds the soul of his lost bride. Frankenstein's bride has returned, and places it inside Hadley. He then places inside his own soul inside Friday. Oh, the whole point was for him and his bride to have new young body. This is kind of a recurring theme, isn't it?
A little bit, yeah.
Burnaby then shoots the machine, which causes everything to go haywire. They seal the One's consciousness into the machine. Later, Watson keeps working with Friday to get his soul back, and the ending is somewhat vague and ambiguous. All right, well, there is so much going on here. The world is very deep and very well considered. Somebody thought a lot about this.
Yes, they crammed a lot in there.
If this was a book series, I'd definitely read it. Apart from the omnipresent corpse technology, there's a lot of additional various steampunk technologies in use throughout the film, some of which are explained and some aren't. They've got computers, but they're called analytical engines, and they look mostly mechanical.
Yes, very mechanical engines.
Okay, one thing I had a question on later on. If the One was Frankenstein's monster from 100 years ago, who was that big guy that Burnaby was fighting? He sure looked like Frankenstein's monster. Big guy, big head, bolts. He looked like the Boris Karloff version of the monster, but there was never any explanation of what he was.
And maybe it was some kind of illusion that he was able to project. That was his true form that we saw with the big guy.
His young form?
Mm-hmm.
Well, again, there are a huge number of ideas, concepts, and philosophies thrown in here that it all feels kind of rushed. If this had been a 5-hour-long miniseries, I still doubt they could have done justice to all of it. There was just way too much in this for a 2-hour movie. It's really good, really dense, but good. Probably worth watching more than once just to pick up all the subtle details.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing this one again.
Yeah, me too. So, all right, there's our 4 animes and a short. What was your favorite?
Paprika.
Second?
Empire of the Corpses.
Third?
The Perfect Blue, not Perfect Blue, Ninja Scrolls.
And last?
Was Perfect Blue.
And I think I have to agree with you 100% on those.
Okay.
I like Perfect Blue more than you did, but I think it was still the least of the bunch.
Perfect Blue was a big dip for me, though. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Paprika is the best. If you're only going to see one of these, go see Paprika. Empire of Corpses is really cool in its own way, though.
Yeah, it is.
I think the only problem with Empire of Corpses that it's not the best is because it was trying to do too much.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little too ambitious there.
A little bit.
All right. Well, again, that's the end of this show. We'll have more for you in a minute.
That's all, folks.
Be sure to stop in over at horrorbulletin.com and sign up for our free newsletter where you get every week you get the same stuff in your email box. Plus, you get some bonus reviews. And this week we'll be watching 26 Ghosts. Huh?
What?
That's the 13 Ghosts from...
Times 2.
The movie 13 Ghosts from 1960, the original, and also the 13 Ghosts from 2001, the remake. We'll compare those two. Which did you like better?
The remake, for sure.
Yeah, me too. That first one was pretty tame.
Pretty tame, pretty dull.
But sign up and read those reviews, horrorbulletin.com. Of course, stop over at horrorguys.com to read the reviews, find our books, and do all the good stuff you can do there. All right, well, next week we're going to have 4 more movies. You know what they are?
I don't.
I don't either. It's a mystery. Tune in next week and find out.
All right.
I'm Brian.
And I'm Kevin.
And we'll see you next week.
See ya.